Once again, welcome to my lecture in YouTube channel Professor LPT. Today's topic is hazard analysis and critical control points. Basically, it is a system for quality control in all food processing. Earlier, we have a exhaustive video on this about the concept of HACCP and another video about its application in abattoir and meat plants. Today, it is more intended for dairy plant, but I am going to talk it in a very simple and short for the understanding of all undergraduate students with more intention for dairy. So earlier I said HACCP is complementary to GMP and sanitation. The sanitation I have discussed earlier and GMP recently I have explained in another video. Here we will have a brief background of HACCP or before its arrival. Firstly, let us understand what is food quality. Quality should cover all aspects, that is physical, chemical, microbiological, toxicological, nutritional and organoleptic. So whenever we prepare any food, we need to look into all these aspects. So quality means it is related to physical quality, chemical quality, microbiological quality, toxicological quality, nutritional aspect and organoleptic or sensory or eating quality. This is what we need to maintain for the preference of the consumers for any food processing. And now let us understand the old practice of quality control. The old practice was after processing, when the food is ready, from each batch some sample is taken and that is sent to laboratory. So related to human health hazard, we are more concerned about the microbiological and toxic aspect. So generally this aspect is assessed in the lab, which may take earlier days up to 2 days. After that only we may know some problem or issues, and then we have to condemn the entire batch or recall the entire batch. So that was very cumbersome and complicated. So in that background only new concept has come, which we are discussing today as HACCP. So HACCP, as I told in the first slide, hazard analysis and critical control point. This is a overall approach for quality control which we will discuss step by step in details, and it is recommended by the international body called Codex in short, but the actual name is Codex Alimentarius Commission, CAC, Codex Alimentarius Commission, CAC. In short, it is called Codex. It is an internationally accepted authority from all countries, and it is composed of the representatives from both WHO and FAO, World Health Organization, and Food and Agriculture Organization. So representative from both sides comes and makes the new authority Codex, which formulates the quality control measures and specifications and standards for international acceptance. So Codex recommended HACCP. HACCP is a system approach to assuring product safety or food product safety. It is based on identifying and monitoring the most critical points in the production process rather than relying on the testing of the final product, that is the end product analysis. So this is a systematic approach where it is taken care of at every step at the full food processing and handling and distribution system instead of the end product analysis. So once again I repeat here, what is HACCP? HACCP is a systematic approach to hazard identification, assessment and control. HACCP is a process control system that identifies where hazards might occur in the food production process and puts into place stringent actions to prevent the hazards from occurring. And thirdly, HACCP programs identify the potential hazards which may be associated with a food from growth through harvesting, processing, storing and distribution to the consumer's hands. So this is about the microbial growth. So here it is very clear, it is a systematic approach from beginning till the end, and not only it it has the efforts to prevent such hazards. So identification of the hazards and solving the issues and preventing the issues to happen. Here once again HACCP in short, as per Codex definition, HACCP is a system which identifies, evaluates and controls the hazards which are significant for food safety. And it can be done through three steps. Number one, designing and building safety into foods. Number two, identify, evaluate and control hazards at all stages in process chain. And thirdly, eliminates hazards by anticipation and prevention rather than inspection. So these are the three easy points to understand the HACCP in short. Here we will see the objectives of HACCP for application in food plant. Firstly, prevention of foodborne illness, reduction of costs of food analysis, reduction of issues due to product recall and protection of reputation, and finally it is a more efficient quality assurance system. So quality assurance is one of the most important aspect for any food production or food processing, and it can be efficiently done through these four ways, that is the prevention of foodborne illness, reduction of cost, reduction of losses due to recall. Whenever there is a problem in earlier system in the end product analysis, if there is a issue, it has to be recalled or rejected. So that's a big loss. And the protection of reputation, brand name. So these are the important objective of HACCP. So here once again we will see the need for HACCP. Firstly, ensuring food safety. Nowadays in every country including India, there is a standard law for ensuring food safety. As you know, there is a FSSA Act, Food Safety and Standards Act. And as per this, we need to maintain the food quality and safety and safeguarding the human health. And secondly, preventing foodborne diseases outbreaks. So through this quality assurance, we can prevent the occurrence of all foodborne pathogens, and thereby we can prevent the foodborne diseases. And thirdly, international obligations. So nowadays whole world is connected. Foods are being imported or exported between all the countries, and for controlling that there is a WTO, World Trade Organization, which is the main clause for all kind of import and export. In case of food, there is two important clause, that is SPC and TBT. So we need to oblige or implement those requirements. So SPC is sanitary and phytosanitary requirement. So this is pertaining to all pathogens, microorganisms and all that. There is a strict control, so that has to be complied with. And secondly, technical barrier to trade. So this is another clause related to trade and export, that also we have to comply. That's why we need to comply with HACCP. Here once again we will see the importance of HACCP. It prioritizes and controls potential hazards in food production by controlling major food risks such as microbiological, chemical and physical contaminants. The industry can assure consumers that its products are safe. By reducing foodborne hazards, public health protection is strengthened. By strictly monitoring and controlling each step of the process, there is less chance for hazards to occur. So now we will discuss in more details about HACCP in step by step. First, let us understand what is hazard. Hazard means unacceptable physical, chemical, biological contamination, unacceptable growth and or unacceptable survival by microorganisms of concern to safety or spoilage, and or unacceptable production or resistance of products of microbiological metabolism, that includes toxins, enzymes, biogenic amines, etc. in foods. So this is what in detailed definition about what is hazard pertaining to physical, chemical, biological contamination. Here we will understand few more important terminology and their definition. Number one is severity. It means is the seriousness of the hazard or magnitude of the hazard. Another is risk. Risk is an estimate of the likely occurrence of a hazard. Then hazard analysis. It is the identification of sensitive ingredients, critical process points, and relevant human factors as they affect product safety. So this is what is about hazard analysis, to analyze every aspect where that hazard can happen in every step pertaining to every ingredient and every process. Another one is critical control points. So these are those processing determinants or points whose loss of control would result in an unacceptable food safety risk. So in the process of making food, there are different steps. So some particular steps is very important, where if we lose the control, it may result in safety risk or hazard. So those points are called critical control points. Now to understand more details, there are 7 principles of HACCP for actual implementation. These 7 principles has to be ensured, and it is established or implemented through 12 steps. So these details I have discussed in my other video earlier, that is the concept of HACCP. There in details I have discussed about the 12 steps for implementation, but here we must know the 7 principles which are very important for HACCP. The first one is conduct of hazard analysis. Second one, determine critical control points or CCP. Third one, establish critical limits. Fourth one, develop monitoring procedures. And fifth one, establish a corrective action plan. Sixth one, create a record keeping system. And the seventh one, establish a verification system. So these are the 7 principles. One by one I am going to explain. So first principle is hazard analysis. Here all the hazards should be identified and evaluated with regard to their severity and likely frequency of occurrence by developing a flow chart of the process involved in the production of food. So for any food, there is a steps of processing, so we should have a flow chart, and every step we should analyze where there is a possibility of loss of control, and when that loss of control happens, it may lead to a hazard. So this analysis of entire process is called hazard analysis. Earlier I told it can be physical hazard, that can be through the dirt or animal hair or other particles, etc. There can be chemical hazards that could be due to pesticides, other drugs, preservatives and other chemicals, and biological hazards where it can be due to the pathogens or spoilage organisms. Now the second principle is determination of critical control points. Critical control point is a location, procedure or process at which control can be exercised over one or more factors which, if controlled, could minimize or prevent a hazard. So already I have earlier explained some particular step where we can have the control measures and prevent any hazard. Those are called CCPs. It could be 2 types, CCP 1 where the hazard can be prevented or eliminated. Some steps where if we control it, that particular point, then the hazard can be totally prevented. And there are some other points, CCP 2, where the hazard can be minimized, reduced or delayed, but fully it cannot be eliminated. So we will see more later. The third principle is the specification of critical limits. So specifying limits of characteristics of a physical hazard, it could be by time or temperature, it could be of chemical nature like salt or acetic acid or any other preventive chemicals, and biological like sensory or microbiological assessment of different parameters. So this all aspect there should be some specific limits. So those are called critical limits. So we can fix certain particular temperature which can assure the control. So that temperature is critical limit. Sometimes it is time, sometimes some chemicals, sometimes other parameters. So increasing emphasis has been placed on quantitative rather than qualitative criteria which indicate whether an operation is under control or not. The fourth principle, implementation of the monitoring system. Monitoring is the systematic checking of the process or procedure at a particular CCP in order to detect any deviation from the criteria which have been set. This is best carried out by the operatives themselves or by their supervisors. The methods selected for monitoring must give immediate results so that any problem detected can be controlled immediately. So we have selected the CCP, we have selected the critical limits. Now we have to monitor it whether it is being followed continuously, and whenever there is a deviation we should take immediate action. So that is what is monitoring system. Now the fifth principle, the corrective action. This is procedures must be established so that immediate action can be taken for detection of deviation from the established criteria. This may involve rectification of an out of control situation before an operation is allowed to commence, or sometime halting the manufacturing process. So whenever there is a deviation that is detected through the monitoring system, immediately there has to be corrective action. So if there is a deviation, what corrective action should be taken, all these things should be pre-planned and laid down in the whole system and procedures, and if required sometime it has to be stopped, the process has to be stopped immediately. Sixth principle is verification. Verification checks are carried out systematically by the quality assurance staff and the veterinary inspection team. Verification may involve some microbiological checks of end product, structures and equipments. All checks should be carried out at a frequency and in a systematic manner. So this is a regular and routine checking of everything, whether it is working well, whether the monitoring is proper, whether the corrective action is going on if there is a failure. So entire system should be under verification, and sometime we can check certain machineries or equipments, or we can take sample and check the microbiological load, etc. Now the last one, the seventh principle, is documentation. Documentation of findings of each step of this system is very important, but at the same time it should not be the sole aim, overlooking the objective of safe food production. So for the whole system application of HACCP, there has to be documentation at every step what is happening, whenever there is a deviation or whenever it is going correctly, day to day, time to time, all the records should be kept. Nowadays with the application of computer system, so everything is automatically recorded, indicated, and in many places there will be sensor. So whenever there is a deviation, the sensor will give the indication and it will be recorded in the system. So here briefly I will discuss the relevance of this HACCP and some of the sources of contamination in milk processing. Previously in one video specifically I have discussed about the application of HACCP in abattoir and in meat processing. The link I will put in the description box below. And in this case we can see that most of the dairy processing, some steps are common, like receiving, then clarification, pasteurization, homogenization, chilling, and then storage. So some of these steps are very important and considered as critical control point or CCP. So pasteurization is a CCP where we tell that specific time and temperature. So these time and temperature are the critical limits. Similarly, chilling when we do, so either it is a processed milk or before processing, the temperature is very important. So this is another CCP. Then whenever we store any product, say it could be the ice cream storage, or it could be coa storage, or it could be other milk products or yogurt. So every time that storage temperature is a CCP and there should be a critical limit. So similarly in every point of any product processing, there are certain specific points which we need to identify, and there has to be system to monitor them, and we have to take action when there is a deviation. So time and temperature has to be monitored. When there is a change or breakdown or deviation, we have to correct it. Sometimes if it is not possible to correct immediately, we have to stop the process. So these are the common aspect for processing of any food or in dairy plant or any milk products. And further, nowadays with the high-tech opportunity of computer and systems. So every point there can be sensors which can indicate the deviation, and immediate beep sound or signals will come, and the process can be controlled or stopped and taken care of further. Now we have discussed about the 7 principles. Briefly, I will tell about the scope of application. It is mandatory for export from certain sectors of food industry to some countries, especially dairy origin foods or meat origin foods. It is proactive system for assuring safe production of foods. It emphasizes prevention rather than inspection, and it addresses all types of hazards, that is microbiological, physical and chemical. It can be integrated into more general quality assurance plan, and it can be connected along with the GMP together. It can be implemented in tiny, small, medium and large scale enterprises. So all size of industries it can be suitable. Here briefly we will see the benefits of HACCP, which we have discussed in a other way in the beginning. So it reduces the contamination, reduces the recall or product destruction, provides market protection, provides preferred supplier status, and provide international acceptance, conformance to international standards and regulations, and transforms commodities into branded products. So briefly, these are the importance and benefits of HACCP application in all food industry, even in dairy industry or meat industry. So now we are at the end of today's lecture. Today we have discussed about HACCP in general for understanding the concept of HACCP, which I wanted to make it more simple and easy for undergraduate students. So it is a hazard analysis and critical control point. We have discussed what is HACCP, what is its importance, what is its scope, how it is applied, and what is the advantages and objectives, etc. And most importantly, the 7 principles I have discussed one by one in a brief manner, and it is an internationally recognized system for reducing the risk of safety hazards in food. So altogether this is very important, and it is almost mandatory for all food processing for the purpose of export, etc. So thank you for listening.